Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have me douse, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
Welcome to Friday Night Lights. I'm your host, Mikey, and as always, riding with me, Shotgun, my boy Tommy. What's going on, brother?
What is going on, Mr. Mikey? Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday, Bills Mafia and Scott. Very upset because he's saying it's 8:30, and it is 8:30. It is 8:30, and we are here.
Our intro was in at 19:30.
Scott is just one of those guys, a ball buster.
He wants to see our pretty faces at 19:30
on the freaking dot, man.
The Giants.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
Yep. But Mr. Mikey, we do have a special guest tonight joining us, and that is Sean from Red, White, and Bills. By the way, real quick, if you guys haven't gone and checked out his YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe after the live stream tonight. And we're going to actually get with Sean real quick before we start with our podcast. So, Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a Bills fan, and how you started your channel, all that good stuff.
Well, guys, again, I appreciate you having me on today. I discovered you guys, I think, a few days ago. And I was like, what? How did it take so long for me to find you guys? But you guys are great content, and I'm really appreciative that I'm on here tonight. Just like any other sports team I liked since I was a kid, I always felt bad for the team that was bad. So I was a young kid. I went to my dad was a correction officer, and he got bus tickets to a preseason game against the Bengals. And I think it was 05 or 06. And I went there, and I was like, they're not that great, but they could be good one day. And then that was like my first experience with football. So I got the Zubaz pajama pants. My dad got them for me at the game, and then I think it was 05. But
still a lot of years, brother. Still a lot of down years.
It was so I stuck with them, and now people can never call me a bandwagon because everyone knows me. Like I liked the Washington Nationals since 06, and they were bad for a long time, and they won a World Series, and they're bad now. But that's how I picked my sports teams as a child. Was if they're bad, I feel bad for them. One day they'll be good. But and as far as my channel goes, I started at week 3 about almost 2 years ago. We're against Washington, and my wife, I don't know if she's watching now, but I would always complain to her about the games or just tell her my thoughts, and she'd be like, "I don't care. Like, go talk to someone else." I was like, I think I'm going to start my own channel. So then, I started it up, and I reached out to a guy named TD Fins. He's a Miami Dolphins YouTuber. Mm-hmm. I was telling Tommy off air about this. He really helped me out, spent like 3 or 4 hours with me on the phone, gave me advice and what he wished he knew when he first started. And, it was a huge, massive help to me. And I was a little bit nervous at first. And then after talking to him, I felt pretty good. And, here I am now. I met a few guys, Nickel City Mafia and Go Bills podcast. We do a lot of work together. And now we're doing some work with you. And it's been, that's what it's all about to me, is meeting other like-minded people who love football and don't always have to agree. But that's the fun of it. If it's everyone's agreeing on everything in the show, it's not as enjoyable if people have different opinions. So that's what it's all about to me. And again, I'm super happy to be here and looking forward to the show.
Nice, brother. Nice, man. Yeah, man. So that's good. I'm glad, man, because I always like when we have guests on here, I always like to know that, they suffered a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Not as much as some people. But...
Oh, dude, I've been watching since 89. Mikey, when did you get into it? I forgot
90.
What year. 90. Okay, so Mikey lived through the heartbreak, which is the Super Bowls. And so did I, obviously. I started actually in 89 when we lost to the Browns. So I actually started before the first Super Bowl. And that was like, and then we got there, then 4 straight, and then after that it was like it started getting rough and rougher and rougher. Yeah, go ahead, Mikey.
It's funny that Sean says that, it's that lovable loser type of thing, because I actually started as a 49er fan. I grew up in Sacramento, so I'm about 2 hours away from San Francisco.
Right.
And it was right about, and I grew up as a 49er fan because they had a training camp like down the street from my house at Sierra College. It was just like super easy to go to. But then when they did Ronnie Lott and Roger Craig and all those legends wrong, is when I'm like, I can't mess with this team anymore. And that was right about the same time that the Bills, and it was the Bills Giants Super Bowl where I bet on the Bills to win. And it was the first time I'd ever bet, and it was a Super Bowl party. And my stepdad was a huge Washington fan, and then the next year we played Washington, and then it was okay. It's the Bills versus Washington, so it was me versus him, and it kind of and I just fell in love with them. They kept losing, and they just kept losing on me, but I fell in love with them, and I've been, I just never stopped rooting for them.
I love it.
By the way, Jason says, 49ers. And
I grew up in the territory, brother.
And Dallas, what's up, brother? Yeah, been a minute, man. Glad you're on tonight, man. By the way, thank you for everybody that's on so far right now. Beth, Scott, Jason, Dallas, man. I appreciate y'all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, like I said, man, I'm glad that you got to experience some of that, because a lot of new, younger fans, they only know like Josh Allen years. So it's like, and they're already disappointed. Like, and I'm like, bro, you have no idea. You don't know. You have no idea, bro. You have no idea the amount of quarterbacks and head coaches that we've been through here. You should be pretty happy. I know it sucks, but my God,
Scott with his compassion showing.
I know. Yeah, Scott's been a fan since 1955 or something like that.
Yeah.
Scott, I'm messing with you, bud.
Since the dawn of football, Scott's been a fan of the Bills.
Right. When they were wearing leather helmets, Scott was out there rooting for him. But no, man. By the way, yeah. So somebody wrote here, and if that's true, then Madden is just ridiculous. And I like Dalton.
2023
Kincaid,
Madden.
Is it?
So,
no.
Okay.
Okay.
Madden updated the rankings. So what you do is you go in and you do a file share, and people
Absolutely
put they do
ridiculous.
Madden rankings or rosters in there, and someone put Kincaid as a 90, and that's all it is.
That's okay. Well, that's not. That's
It's not 24. It's not. That's not the new rankings.
Right.
He's not gonna be a 90.
So Mikey, by the way, any NFL news before we get going into the
a couple things. First, we'll start with Melvin Gordon signed with the Ravens. We saw James Robinson sign with the New York Giants, and so did this tiny slot wide receiver named Cole Beasley signed with the Giants. Which
Buffalo Giants.
Yeah, which I'll say, I honestly truly believe that it was actually a really good fit for him because he knows Dable and they need that slot. It'll be interesting to see where they play Isaiah Hodgins now, because he played slot last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big slot and produced. And now that they have Cole Beasley in the house, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Hodgins.
Yeah, that isn't. I don't know, man. I'm interested to see Hodgins year 2 with Giants. Now that they are adding on some talent there, at receiver depth. Now they got Cole Beasley. Let's see. I'm curious how they where they put Hodgins, like you said. Cole, though, I mean, we'll see, man. I wasn't overly impressed last year when he came to the Bills, but you got to also remember we got him off the couch.
Yeah.
So,
now he'll have
I'm not gonna dog him. He had a terrible catch, bounce off his chest last year for an interception that drove me wild. But
Dunn's says they also got Crowder. Crowder signed.
Oh, did they?
Wow.
Okay.
Man, they're really the
but I don't know if Crowder. Right, I'm not gonna even count Crowder as a Bill. Played 2 games.
The Bills were the Carolina,
Carolina
Yep.
Bills, the Buffalo Panthers.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, that's what
I mean,
happens
it makes sense. So the continuity with Daboll, and then their GM was with us, so it's like it just makes sense. But
I mean, yeah. I look at the Bills. I mean, you think about like you said, Carolina. Not only we got personnel, we got McDermott first, Bean, then we got Ken Dorsey later on. Who else did we get from there?
Eric Washington.
Yeah.
Right, Washington.
Bobby Babbage. Babbage came from them.
Right, so
we had Dan
it happens.
Morgan and
Dan Morgan. Yes, I forgot about it. Yes.
Like some of the front office came up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was.
That's how it works. It's how it
Their
works.
job, and they all just shift to another team all together.
Yeah, that's it. Because they're familiar with one another, man.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable with one another. That's pretty much how it goes.
That happened with Buffalo when Shane got the job. He hired Daboll. Daboll brought the offensive line coach and a few others, the quarterback coach
and players, right?
And some players, and it shouldn't surprise you because Daboll and Shane both were very instrumental in our draft. So they scout players the same way we scout players.
Right.
So they want to grab the guys that we want to grab. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this year. I'll tell you one thing: they're playing with fire by not re-signing Barkley, because Barkley was the catalyst to that offense.
It's tricky, Mikey. Though, God, it's tricky. You know how I am with the running back, man. That's a lot. He passed up 10. Passed up 10. So he's passing up 10. Right, for the now, I want to know if he's passing up 10 though, Mikey. Right, I'm just saying, what does he want though? Like, how much more than 10? Or is it long term? Is it more of a long term thing?
Long term thing. So they offered him 22 over 2, which is higher.
So 11. So
11 year,
right.
They wouldn't. They were offering him 11 year, but they wouldn't guarantee year 3. It was only the first 2 years guaranteed.
Right.
And he wanted partials in the third year.
But why? Yeah, I just don't get. I'll be honest with you. On the Barkley end of it, if I'm his agent, like I told you last week, it doesn't make sense to sit out, lose $10 million, get your 10, ball out, and go somewhere else. Say F you. You don't want to pay me. Now, of course, there's risk of injury. I get that, but I'm saying that it is what it is, or you lose 10. I'm just saying I would play the 10. I would play the 10 and be like, hey. And bro, especially if he does good. If he does good, then he's definitely going to get a contract, and it ain't going to be in New York because he's going to say, nope, you had your chance. So I would play for the 10, get your 10, and move on from New York and say, hey, y'all had a chance, now I'm out. Like, that's what I would do, but hey, I'm not him. He could do what he wants, man. I think it's a bad mistake.
If you look at the running back room, and I don't disagree, sitting out, I think if he's smart, he sits out the first 6-8 games and then just plays the last year to get out of the franchise tag, because you have to play by week 8 to be accumulated year. However,
true.
If you look at the running back market, nobody's signing any of these guys. You have Austin Eckler, who's a touchdown machine. He's catching 90 balls and running for 1,300 yards, and he can't get paid. You have Dalton Cook still sitting on the market. You have a bunch of guys sitting on the market still.
Mikey, it's the new age, man. You do not pay for a running back. Not a lot, at least. You pay I'm not saying don't go out and pay for a running back, but not a lot of money. Be smart about it. You know what I mean? Because look, they all look at the Elliott situations and all the other running backs that didn't work out when they got big contracts. It sucks. You're stuck with them. And they also know that you can get running backs cheap in the draft, and they're with you 4 or 5 years. So,
but do it's a lot.
Then you move on.
It's a lot of.
It is, but so is these guys after 4 or 5 years. You know how the running backs go.
Let me ask you a question. Maybe this is a question I'll ask Sean, because I know kind of where you stand with this.
Yeah,
you have your choice of signing Saquon Barkley to a long-term deal or signing Daniel Jones to a long-term deal. Which one are you tagging? Which one are you signing?
I would definitely sign Barkley. I mean, Jones had, to what people think Daboll did a really good job over there. But my opinion is the offense was atrocious, minus Saquon. Daniel Jones had 15 touchdown passes in 17 games. That's not really good. And, he just ran. He just ran the ball. Wink Martindale basically got no credit for what happened in New York. And, we all know Wink Martindale. He's an incredible defensive coordinator. And that defense was really good. Sure, they scored I think they scored over 20 points maybe twice or 3 times. I could be wrong. But their offense wasn't that great. and it moved because of Saquon. Yeah, Daniel Jones made some good plays. He ran the ball well with his feet, but like 15 touchdowns passing isn't anything impressive at all.
It's funny that you say that because Mac Jones is being killed for the same amount of touchdowns last year. Right now,
and he played less games.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you rather give the $40 million? Granted, that's a 1-year contract for Daniel Jones. He's in $40 a year.
Right.
You could have given Saquon 40 over 3, and he probably would have taken it.
Yeah.
You could give him the same amount that you're going to pay Daniel Jones 1 year to Saquon over 4 years, and he probably would have taken it. And you could have franchised Daniel Jones and then seen what he did this year. I think that was a miscalculation on the Giants' part.
Definitely. I mean, you could have re-signed him even for less because I'm sure he doesn't think he's worth $40 million.
That's what they were holding out for, and that's what they got.
Yeah. Wow.
Derek Carr took 35 to go to the Saints, but Daniel Jones gets more.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about the quarterback market. Well, the market in general. If I was a Giants
fan, I'd be throwing up right now.
Yeah, they definitely made a wrong choice there, and not only that, but Saquon was there through the hard years, and he came out and balled out his rookie year. He definitely deserves something, and is it smart to miss out on $10 million? Probably not. Can you imagine arguing your salary with your boss? You'd get fired. So I mean, the fact that they have the opportunity to be like, "F you, I'm not going to play this year." I mean, that's kind of crazy to even have the opportunity, but. I'm pretty sure the running backs as a whole decided on what the players decided on the franchise tag amount. So like, if you had to pay for $10 million, do it for 1 year, like you guys said. And if he really doesn't want to play for New York after that, someone else will sign him. But like you guys also mentioned, it makes sense that kind of like what we do. We draft a running back, we draft another one the year after that, we draft another one the year after that, and then we just recycle them. Not only it makes more sense for us because we don't really use a running back that often, but a guy like Saquon, him and Jacobs and Nick Chubb and Henry and McCaffrey, those guys don't come around all that often. So it'd be smart to lock them up, especially if you're a team like the Giants, because they're not going anywhere, even winning they won't even be 500 without Saquon Barkley.
Yep. So Scott comes in and says Thurman Thomas made a huge difference. Following the narrative is wrong.
Different era.
Bills should trade next year's first and go get Jacobs or Barkley. Here's the issue with that, Scott. If you trade for them, you're taking on the full franchise tag this year because you can't sign them to a long-term deal. We don't have $10 million to shell out to a running back right now. We just don't.
It's a different era too, though. I gotta say, I gotta be honest with you. It is. Running backs were used way more back in the day, Mike. You know that running backs got paid. Running backs were used. It was mainly a ground and pound kind of game for the most part back in the day. Right now, with the way the game has shifted, now I will say running backs are starting to come back around. Like teams are starting now understanding that running backs are useful. Right? You do need a running back, but I just don't know if you have let's talk Christian McCaffrey, for instance. Christian McCaffrey is a hell of a running back, but he's also been hurt a ton. A lot. And it's like one of those guys where it's like, do you pay him? And then he's good 1 year and then he's out the next. Or so it's a roll of the dice, and not many running backs, Mikey, stay healthy. But I will say this. Daniel Jones, never a fan of him. Awful signing. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm pissed. I would never listen, the Giants and Dable knows that maybe they don't. He can't be the guy there long term. He can't be the franchise guy. If they're rolling the dice on him, they're rolling it wrong. Boy, they're gonna lose. They're gonna find out real quick. That's not gonna work out. He's not what he is. He is a
4 for 160 or something like that. So it's like 40 a year.
Yeah.
What they should have done. Dable, what he should have done is you draft a fucking quarterback, bro. You build that team. Yeah. You get yourself a good quarterback, a young guy. Try to find yourself the next Allen if you can, whatever, or a guy similar, whatever your style is. But you draft it. You take a season where it's a bad season, like Buffalo did in 2018. Mm-hmm. You build your team, and in 2019, you hope your quarterback progress a little bit, and then by the next year, you're loving life. You got yourself a rookie quarterback with a lot of high ceiling. But with Daniel Jones, bro, he came in. Daniel Jones already there. He's already drafted. Like I don't understand that. Yeah. And I already saw what Daniel Jones was about. He should have saw that too. But It is what it is, Mikey.
Yep. I'm just glad I'm not a Giants fan.
Nope.
Not our problem.
So today's conversation is going to be around the trench warfare offense. So we're going to talk about tight ends and offensive line today.
Oh my.
Yeah. So we'll
Trench warfare
offense, because we have trench warfare offense, trench warfare defense. So for the offense, we'll kick it off at the tight ends. We'll start with our boy Dawson Knox. In 2022, had 48 catches for 517 yards and 6 touchdowns. He had 0 fumbles. And then his advanced stats, he had a 73.8 catch rate and had 4 drops. On his career, he has 22 drops, but that was because he had 10 drops his rookie year. So overall, he's actually gotten a lot better when it comes to drop rate. And this is actually a fantastic catch rate. The 73.8. I know a lot of people still look at Dawson Knox's, hands are an issue, but they're really not when you look at the advanced metrics. So, Tommy, I'll start with you. Thoughts on our boy Dawson?
I love Dawson Knox, man. Listen, we all know he was a project player coming out of college. No surprise, 3rd round pick. He needed to work. He was raw, another raw guy that Bean loves drafting. That's what he does. Gets guys that are project kind of players. And he had a rough going his rookie year. So did Josh. So did a lot of these other raw players that we drafted. And I felt like Dawson Knox, put in the work in the offseason just like Josh, and went to the tight end university thing, which helped him out tremendously. And it showed. It showed the very following season, that season actually. And I like him. I just felt like last year with the poor blocking that we had, he had a, his role was changed a little bit. It wasn't his fault. It was just the way it had to go. I think Dawson Knox, listen, they paid him for a reason. Did they overpay a little bit? They may have. We'll see what he does this season. I'm curious how he rebounds from last year, how he's used in the offense. If he's used a little bit more, and then he can live up to that contract. Because I think it was a little bit high right now, but we'll see, right? But I still like him. I think he has a lot of upside. He could do it all. He has a good connection with Josh. He's made some unbelievable catches in the end zone as well. In the red zone. He is pretty much our red zone guy for now. So yeah, I like Dawson Knox, man. Definitely.
Sean?
Oh man, I love Dawson Knox, and he came from Ole Miss. My father went to Ole Miss, so I always think it's cool when we get a guy from a school of someone I know. But very raw, but just to see what he's become. And again, last year we all know he lost his brother, which I'm not going to say that could have been a reason why he took a step back, or it seemed like he was non-existent at times. But the fact that he was playing through that shows the resiliency of the guy and, the heart of the man. And I really appreciate that out of him. And, again, makes some great plays for us, runs people over, makes some great catches, some key touchdowns. I'm excited to see what he does this year. And who knows, maybe with a guy like Kincaid next to him, if he's what everyone thinks he could be, it might even elevate Dawson Knox a little bit. And if he's not blocking, which, again, sometimes tight ends have to block, but I think the purpose of last year was to not have our tight ends block often. But unfortunately, our offensive line, our big guys couldn't get it done. But I'd like to see Dawson Knox take a little bit of step forward. I mean, honestly, if he could get 600-700 yards, 6+ touchdowns, maybe 60 receptions, I think that'd be pretty good for him.
Okay, so you're looking about adding about 12 catches, 100 yards, and maybe a touchdown or 2 more, and you would think that would put him, in the next tier. Because when we look at it, he's always sat around 50 catches, 600 yards, and he ranges between 6 and 10 touchdowns for over the last 3 years. So it'll be interesting. I also think part of it is last year he blocked more. And, in this comment, it's talked about, he was blocking because our, offensive line was so bad. So he couldn't be out in those routes. With a improved O-line and a year 2 of Dorsey. Because you have to remember, Dorsey was a rookie last year. And I've been really hard on Dorsey. And talking with Tommy through the months, I've kind of come around a little bit. Like, okay, he was a rookie offensive coordinator. He fell into some of the traps that a lot of rookie offense coordinators fall into. I'm looking for him to be better. I mean, we still had a really good offense, and I think we overachieved a little bit with what we had going on. And that I give the credit to the Diggses and Allens and those type of guys. But at the end of the day, with the improved offensive line and Dorsey feeling more comfortable in year 2, I would like to see what we do with the Knox Kincaid combo.
Yeah. By the way, I totally forgot about his brother. I'm glad he brought that up because I did that video. I should have put that in there because that was
brother.
I totally forgot that really was a big deal, man. I remember that that was a huge story, and that was in
training camp.
I believe he played in FIU, right? He was a tight end at FIU, super young, and man, crazy. Yeah, so I totally forgot about that. Glad you brought that up. But damn, bro, what a wild off season, guys. Unbelievable. I mean, what? Wow, man. I totally forgot about it. But wow. Blows my mind how crazy things were last year, guys.
Have either one of you guys seen this? Have you guys seen the rumors that the Bills are interested in A.J. Dillon? I haven't seen that.
No, not since the year he was drafted. I knew we were, but I haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah, they snagged him before we were on the clock, so we took Moss after they took Dillon.
Yep.
Okay,
yeah, I didn't hear about that.
I haven't seen that at all. It'll be interesting to see what plays out. I mean, I like what we've done in our running back room. We went through it last week. We know Cook's going to probably be the RB1. We know that Harris and Murray are going to battle out for those short yardage, and we know what Hines can be. Let's just see if they use him that way.
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right, so then we'll talk a little bit about Dalton Kincaid, our rookie first-round pick, the new toy in Josh Allen's arsenal. In college, his 2022 seasons, he had 70 catches, 890 yards, 8 touchdowns. He had a 75.3 catch percentage, and he had 2 drops, which is 2.8%. Those were the only 2 drops he had in his 4-year career. I don't know how much you know about Dalton Kincaid, but Dalton actually didn't start playing football until his senior year of high school. And he went to San Diego State, played at San Diego State for 3 years, and then transferred to Utah and had a breakout year at Utah last year. Fantastic athlete, fantastic hands. He's more of a flex tight end than an inline tight end. His blocking is subpar against the bigger, defensive line. He'll do better more in a slot or outside when he's going up against the smaller guys. So we'll start with Sean this time. What's your thoughts on Kincaid? What are you looking for?
I'm going to be completely honest. I hated the pick at first, and I'm kind of the same way as Tommy was. We did me and my other friends, Nicholson Mafia and Gold Bills podcast, in our pre-draft process. We were heavy on tackle, guard, center in the first 3 or 4 rounds, really focusing on that. And there was so many people on the board that I thought could have benefited the team more. And then I said, there's no way we're going to go Cyrus Torrance now. And then after we got him, I settled down a little bit, but then at the same time, I was like, that was more of a gift. I don't really give that, we got lucky that happened, because imagine if he wasn't there, then what happens now? But, when you look at Dalton Kincaid, extremely, extremely great hands, decently quick, and just, he's not the best blocker, but if what we're doing is, what we tried to do last year, we're not going to hopefully need him to be blocking as much as, we were blocking last year. I really like the possibility of what he can bring. And I said this to Tommy before also, unfairly for him, I have to hold him at a very high expectation, not only because he was a first-round pick, but because we really need a significant contribution from all of our rookies this year. And it might be a little bit unfair, to say he's got to produce at least what Isaiah McKenzie produced last year. Because you got to do at least that much for me to be,
he's got to do more. He's got to do more than what Isaiah did last year. Because I don't. Tommy ran into a thing last night where he watched the Chiefs game. Isaiah was bad in half his games.
Oh yeah,
I love the guy, but he was just bad. Fell down, let stuff bounce off his helmet, off his hands.
Yeah. No, and I don't mean that he was in the sense that McKenzie was a good player, but from what we're trying to, you try to assume what is his target share going to be? What do you expect reception wise out of him? And some people they throw out 40 catches, 35 catches, 45. I'm that's what Isaiah McKenzie was doing, and he's not that good. If he's your first round pick and compared to Travis Kelce, you got to hold him to a super, especially a first round pick. You got to hold him to a high standard. And then, like I said, you need contribution from your rookies this year to get us over that hump, I believe. And, you know, of course, upside for him is phenomenal and great. But like I said, unfairly for me, I'm going to be holding him to a very high standard, where some people might understand. Like, I know he's a rookie. I know he's got some grooming to do, but we don't have that much time. Like,
he's also a 24-year-old rookie, so he's an older rookie. You know, he's not coming in super young, but he's very raw still, and the fact that he hasn't played organized football for very long. So, Tommy, thoughts on Kincaid?
Listen, y'all, if y'all watched our live draft, y'all know the reaction on day one, right? So the reaction was not so good, right? And but we've had those reactions before. We had that last year as well. And you know, once the dust settled, and once me and Mikey got to really watch film and you know, and obviously the rest of the draft goes on, you start to kind of change your thought process. And listen, the draft, I was all about offensive line. I was tired of putting Band-Aids on this offensive line, defensive line. And when they skipped on an offensive lineman in the first round, I was pissed. Then they made up for it, obviously, in Osiris Torrance. So going back on Kincaid, listen, man, raw player. Once again, another kind of guy that's kind of raw a little bit. But listen, he showed out. And I'll give you kind of an example, even though it's a different position. Gregory Rousseau, 1 year, same kind of thing. He was new at a position in Miami. He went from tight end to DE, and he had like 15 and a half sacks. Then he didn't play until that next year. So Buffalo took a roll of the dice first round with a guy that had very limited experience, had no experience in high school, right? Same as Kincaid. And it's working out, right? I see the major upside for Rousseau. Rousseau had 8 sacks last year. So with Kincaid, I'm going to tell you, man, this guy, except for the blocking, which he isn't awful depending on who he's blocking, but when it comes to bigger guys like bigger linebackers, edge rushers, he's a little, not too good. But I don't think that was ever the plan when they drafted him. I think Bean and Dorsey and McDermott sees him as just a playmaker, a guy that's like a hybrid wide receiver, tight end. They're going to use this guy all over the field, in my opinion. I think him and Josh, you know, if they get a connection going early, watch out. This guy's going to be the safety blanket that Josh didn't have last year. And I know you brought up McKenzie, and here's the difference. McKenzie, 5'8", right? Dalton Kincaid, 6'4", right? You got a bigger guy, right, who's a good route runner, who's also way more reliable at catching the ball than McKenzie, and somebody that Josh is going to trust throwing the ball to. So very important, especially in the red zone. Once again, where we struggled, now you have another weapon for Josh. So after the draft, after studying Kincaid, I love the pick. I don't know if he's going to ball out his first year, but I would say look out for year 2, year 3, this guy's going to be an absolute dog in the NFL, in my opinion. And I think Dawson being next to him is going to help his career big time, because he's not going to be relied on to do the blocking. Knox is going to kind of do that, and like I said, I think he's just going to be that go-to guy for Josh. And, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to year 1 to see, just the potential. I just want to see, just some excitement. Like Josh's rookie year, right? You want to see flashes of going, damn, right? Okay, this is what we can expect. Right? Moving forward, probably, right? In year 2, it's going to get even better. So if we see flashes of Kincaid like we're expecting to, watch out year 2, year 3, year 4 with Kincaid. I just don't know. I wouldn't put too much pressure on him year 1.
Part of me hates like we always drafting hope and project players. Like part of that just like makes me angry, because it's like, oh, typical Buffalo Bills. We're drafting off hope. We're picking free agents off hope. I want some guarantees. I want to pick a free agent that we're like, but at the same time, it's great
but
when they turn out, but it's just,
but Sean, how many of those picks though are late round? The majority of these picks that he's rolling dice on are guys usually in the 3rd round, 4th round. I mean, we knocked Gabe Davis 4th round pick, right? I think he's worked out pretty well for a 4th round pick. Dawson Knox 3rd round pick. He's worked out pretty well, right? We gave him a good, like, he's a pretty good player, right? And Absolutely. He's a guy, once again, now, yes, Kincaid, I don't know so much he's a roll of the dice kind of guy because of the stats he put up. And same with Rousseau, who, by the way, is kind of a 2nd round pick. He was late, 29th. So, but he's also proven. So what players have we really failed on? I would say Cody Ford, we reached on the 2nd round. And I don't even know if that was a project player. That was a player who played in a good school. He was played at that position a while. So it wasn't a guy that was raw. He had experience in college. So how many raw players are being drafted that hasn't worked out? I don't think there's that many. I'm talking about raw, new to the position.
It's just stressful,
you know what I'm saying?
You never know. I mean, you never know anyway.
No, I get it. Yeah, you never know. Anyway, but it could be a 1st round. Baker, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of top 5 guys that fail. You know what I mean? So,
you also have to look at it this way. How many for sure things are you going to get late in the 1st round?
Right.
That's a good point as well.
You know, when you're looking to draft in the late 20s, like we have been, the fact that we were able to get Dawson Knox, who actually had top 15 potential. Ceiling top 15. He was the best player on the board from a ceiling perspective on almost every draft person's board.
Talking about Kincaid?
Yeah.
You meant? Okay, you said Knox.
That's what I meant, Kincaid. So when I was looking at it, I wanted us to go defensive end, and I wanted us to take Nolan Smith because he also had that raw Von Miller type ceiling. Tommy wanted us to take Torrance right there. He wanted us to trade up and get Torrance. We ended up getting second.
I thought we were. I said, shit.
We got lucky. Like I said, it was more of a luck thing.
Yeah, so when you're looking at it and they look at ceiling, not floor. So when you say you want a sure thing, so you're looking more for the high floor rather than the high ceiling. You want to know what that person's bottom is going to be. You would rather draft that. Me personally,
just because of where we're at as a team, we're not in 2018 right now building up with Josh. Like, we have a coach going on year 7 who hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Josh isn't getting any younger. Diggs ain't getting any younger. Von, the safety duo, Trey getting up there in age for a corner. We have to try to beat the age gap. So try to get sure things right now. And then if you want to gamble once, because even a 3rd round pick it's still pretty early in the draft. Like, there's some top talent that goes in the 3rd round. And it's I always feel like they try to outsmart people. Like, oh, we're going to draft someone from a little community college out in Wisconsin instead of drafting a guy from the SEC who's an absolute beast. And again, I don't hate it 100% because I get what you're saying. Like, the potential ceiling is through the roof. No pun intended, I guess. But at the same time, it just stresses me out as a fan who, is worried about the growth of every other team around us. I know we're still great. I'm not doubting our skill or ability at all. But it's you see, it used to be just 1 or 2 teams in the AFC possibly going to make it. But now it's 7 or 8 teams you can see going to the AFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. And it's just well, I think we should try to stick to for sure things for now, or more on the cusp of for sure things as you can be, than stick to
that. But not Sean. Real quick, nothing's for sure. I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
That's true.
Nothing. We're talking about any sport, right? Let's just go with any sport: NBA, football, NFL, MLB. None of these guys are for sure. You don't know until they get right into the NFL, right? How they're gonna play out. If there was for sure, then trust me, GMs right? But I will say this on this draft. This probably was, in my opinion, I thought Bean did one of his better drafts. Obviously, the 2018 draft is my favorite because obviously Josh Allen. But I felt like with Kincaid and Torrance, he got two first-round talents. No doubt. They both were projected to go in the first round. He got the best guard that was projected in Torrance, and he got him in the second round. He had Kincaid, whom a lot of people had going. Some people had going top 10. Some people had going top 15. The fact that he even slipped where he slipped, I totally understand why you take that pick. So if you really look at that draft, that was a steal, both those guys. And I don't know if they're project. First of all, Torrance is no project player. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's just plenty of experience. And I don't know if Kincaid's really a project player. I think he's just kind of we could say raw a little bit. He has probably some learning to do. But he proved in Utah that he catches on pretty quick. And that defense has had a very tough time against this dude. So I'm just excited, like I said, to see him work with Josh. And by the way, he went to tight end university with Dawson Knox, with Josh Allen. That is a big deal, man, in my opinion. So, yeah, man, you should be. I'm telling you, man, Sean, those two guys right there, those two, that's about as good as you can get for where we selected, in my opinion. But nothing's for sure. Nothing is for sure. You never know.
I also believe that it's one of those things where we're at in our build. We should be shooting for the stars. We shouldn't, because if you look at floor versus ceiling, just take the 2018 draft. Baker Mayfield was the higher floor person over Josh Allen. Josh Allen was the higher ceiling. It was boom or bust with Josh. No one knew exactly what he was going to be.
Exactly.
So do we want to take the Baker Mayfields, or do we want to keep shooting for the Josh Allens? At our early in our build, I could have seen us taking those higher floor guys.
Darnold, Rosen.
Yeah,
I mean, those
higher
guys
floor guys.
Yep.
But that's just not the way that our front office works. We shoot for guys that because they believe in their ability to bring the best out of them, and that's why they keep shooting for them. They don't always hit. I mean, look at Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller was one of those guys that they just gave up on a little bit too soon, and he was one of those high floor or low floor, high ceiling guys, and they just thought that he wasn't going to pan out, and they were wrong. They thought wrong. So I would say keep doing what they're doing. I'm okay with them taking those high ceiling guys. I guess I just need to understand more about how they're reviewing things, because one, I never did the draft intake on Kincaid because I wasn't expecting us to draft a tight end.
Exactly.
So that's just signing Knox. Right. So I never did the things. But once I found out and they said they're going to use him more as a receiver, I'm like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense then, and we'll see how that plays out. But hey, we could sit here all night and talk about the draft. We have a lot of people to get through. So Quentin Morris is our tight end 3. He transitioned from wide receiver last year to tight end. He had 8 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. He had a 72.7 catch rate, and he had 0 drops. I thought he was a solid. I think he's a solid 3. I don't think he's a 2 yet. He had to fill in for the 2 because Sweeney was just so bad. And then our 2 camp bodies are Joel Wilson, who's a rookie UDFA, and Nick. I don't even know how you pronounce Nick G, who's been on a practice squad for 4 years. So they're camp bodies. I think these are our 3 tight ends going into the year. And that's just what it's going to be. Yeah.
I didn't think Quentin Morris he's not bad. He's not terrible. He's shown flashes here and there, but he's never gonna be a starting tight end. But he's not. He's better than Tommy Sweeney. Yeah, he's more reliable. He's actually had some bigger catches than Sweeney when he was on the team. So no, I don't mind Quentin Morris. So I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, I think he's a solid tight end 3. He's more of a receiving tight end than he is a blocking tight end, but that's why we have those big tackles or guards to play as a big tight end for us in those rundowns. So we'll move on to offensive tackles. We basically have 4, and then we have a bunch of guys. We have Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, David Questenberry, Brandon Shell, and then on the bubble I have Doyle, who's coming off of a torn ACL. Alec Anderson, who was on the practice squad all last year, Ryan Vandermark, who was on a practice practice squad last year, not for us, but for another team. And then Richard Garage, the UDFA out of Florida.
Mhm.
Dawkins had one of his worst years overall last year. He gave up 30 total pressures. He had 12 penalties, which was higher than kind
Horrible.
of his career average. It was a bad year, but he also had one of the worst left guards playing next to him. Like, I loved the idea when we signed I just went blank on his name.
Saffold.
Thank you. Saffold.
Yep.
But man, he just he went downhill quick and he fell off a cliff. And
Man.
Dion's always been that way, Tommy. When we look
Yep.
at Dion, when he's had a solid left guard, he plays really good. When he doesn't, he plays really bad. And that's kind of how it plays out. Our other starting tackle is Spencer Brown, who gave up 42 pressures, but only had 6 penalties. He only allowed 4 sacks. That's because Josh was a freaking magician.
Right.
Because 42 pressures is a ton of pressures. But when you look at Quessenberry and Shell gave up 40 pressures last year. So everyone's thinking, oh, let's play Brandon Shell. Brandon Shell didn't play much better than Spencer Brown last year. So
He was switched though. I think they switched him and he started not so good on one. I think they wind up putting him at right tackle later in Miami. They started him over at left, I think, initially or something like that. And once they put him over, he did better. So maybe the sacks were when he was on the opposite side. I'm just throwing that out.
It's the pressures. When I did the research,
the pressures too.
His pressures were pretty steady all the way through until he got hurt, and then he was out for the year.
Yeah.
Because he filled in for Tron Armstead at first at left tackle when he was
Exactly.
out, and then he flipped over to the right side. But his splits weren't that much different. Like, he gave up a ton of pressures. Granted, Tua also held the ball a really long time because he wanted those guys to get downfield.
He
which
does.
Also
yeah.
hurts, the offensive line for stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'll start with we'll start at the bottom. What's your guys' thoughts on the 4 tackles that we have here? I know Dawkins is pretty much entrenched, but then we have Quessenberry, Shell, and Brown battling out for that right guard. Sean?
Well, right tackle is a position, especially on the O-line, that the starter is certainly not set in stone. I'm also, if any one of those are starting, I think I said before the draft even started, if Spencer Brown's our starting right tackle next year, we did something wrong. And even so, Brandon Shell could win the job. But how good is Brandon Shell really? I mean, and that's the other thing I'm worried about. I really have high hopes for Tommy Doyle. I always like Tommy Doyle, but again, coming off his ACL injury, he had to play through his ACL injury because we had nobody left, and I really commend him for that. But we don't know how he's going to come back this year. And again, Spencer Brown could have a better year, but then at the same time, it's like this is another position where it's very scary, and we're very lacking in this aspect of the game. As far as maybe Doyle can take over, maybe Shell could win the job, but I still think besides Dawkins, we don't really have great tackles. I mean, they're all.
and even Dawkins is up and down.
Right, and especially, and maybe Anderson or Vandermark could surprise us this year in camp and maybe somehow get the starting job, but.
Richard Garage is someone you should keep an eye on. I mean, he was a starting left tackle at University of Florida.
Yep,
you could always put Torrance and Garage on the right side. They have that chemistry.
Yeah. Can't sleep on that either. But it's well documented. I'm especially hard on Spencer Brown. Offensive line's kind of like the position I enjoy the most, and besides defensive line and linebacker. And my thing on Spencer Brown is, I get it. He's raw. I know he wasn't supposed to start. I know he came off of injuries. But the way I look about when you play with injuries, as a player and as an adult, you take that responsibility of, I'm telling my coaches or my employer that I'm willing and ready to play with an injury or nagging. You have to accept whatever happens with it. So whether Brown was injured or not, he chose to play, and he performed very poorly. So he has to accept what was dealt to him off of his choice. He could have said, shut me down for the year. I don't think I'm going to perform well. Get another year under his belt to rest and train, whatever. But he chose to play. It didn't work out for him. He was absolutely atrocious. Not only did he get beat with speed, but he would get beat by basic power rush moves that I learned when I was in 7th grade modified football. And I get it. He's a project player, but we're trying to win a Super Bowl. And yeah, someone said he recovered that fumble that when Josh hurt his arm. He only recovered that because he got beat so bad.
He was already running that way, chasing his guy down.
Exactly.
But just so you know, he's not the one that recovered it. Quessenberry's the one that recovered it.
Right, yeah, Quessenberry did.
Quessenberry's at right tackle when he got hurt. Spencer Brown wasn't the right tackle that game.
But I will say, though, as hard as I am on certain players, I want to be wrong. So if Spencer Brown comes back this year with his full offseason, then he performs pretty decent. I mean, you can't be any worse than he's been. He's been rated 77th out of 79 and 75th out of 78 in the last 2 years. If he's in the 50s or 40s, that's a significant improvement. But if he shows me on the field that he's actually improved his technique and his basic play at right tackle, then I'll be happy, and I'll be the first one to say, I was wrong. I'm so happy that he's improved, and let's see where it takes us. But as of right now, when we're trying to win a Super Bowl, I don't like where we're at with right tackle. And I hope that the coaches don't – I feel like the coaches are giving so much leeway to Spencer Brown. And – they just like, oh, we trust him. We rely on him. We think he can do it.
Well, they see that upside, and I think that's part of it. They see the ceiling, not the floor. So when we were just talking about, with Kincaid and some of these other guys, the floor versus the ceiling. He has a very low floor, but he has a very high ceiling. They want to see it all mesh together. Very much like Josh. Josh had a, high ceiling, low floor, and he hit his ceiling after 2 years, because Josh wasn't great his first couple of years either, and then he took off. So let's hope he comes back this year and lives up to the hype. Yeah. But if he doesn't, then I think this is his last shot.
Yeah. At the same time, though, I understand why they like to do that, but it's like, how far are you willing to go with this? Like, you're going on year 3 with someone who has been nothing but terrible. He's decent in run blocking when he blocks a safety or a cornerback. Other than that, I have never been impressed with him. So they like the guy. Like, I love the Buffalo Bills, of course. I like the players. But I try not to let my like for players get in the way of, like, that's why I seem so harsh on some players. But it's just, we're so close to winning, and all you need is like an average tackle. And they weren't even willing to try to find an average tackle anywhere because they believe in Spencer Brown, who hasn't really shown us anything. So I understand that they like to do that, but it's like, at what expense are they willing to go to give a guy a chance? You know what I mean?
Well, you also have to remember the average tackle in free agency is making about $20 million a year right now. We don't have that kind of money to pay the average tackle today. So it'll be interesting to see how they play out. They're still banking on it. They brought in Shell. They brought back Quessenberry. Yeah, which I don't think are any better. Than what we have with Brown. So, Tommy, your thoughts on the tackles?
I think you guys
kind of hit it.
Listen, man. No, I don't. I think you're totally wrong on Spencer Brown. Okay. Listen, man. Listen. And me and Sean's gone back and forth on this on Tuesday for like an hour. So, listen, Spencer Brown was drafted in 2021. He was never supposed to start year 1. He was supposed to be a project player. Everybody knows that. This was not a first-round player where we're like, oh, man, God, he's first round, and look, we're not. So he was thrown in the mix because the offensive line was atrocious in 2021, just like it's been atrocious 2020, 2021, 2022, like since Allen's been here, really, right? Thrown in the mix early with, by the way, Bobby Johnson, who not a very good offensive line coach. I'm sorry. He did a piss-poor job here. He's a reason why Wyatt Teller was shipped off. Let's be real, okay? How do you not see the talent in Wyatt Teller, okay? And you tell Brandon Beane that he's not going to be used on the team, might as well ship him off. And Brandon Beane, of course, didn't do his homework. He's not going to listen. Probably won't take people's advice from moving forward. So he took that guy's advice. He didn't make anybody better while he was here, okay? 2022 came around offseason. They got Aaron Kromer. Now, if you aren't familiar with Aaron Kromer, Kromer has been one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. Look at his track history. I think he won an award with the Saints, like for best offensive line coach one year. The dude is legit. When he was here in Buffalo, we had a really good offensive line back in, I think he was here in 2015, 2016?
2015, 2016.
Yeah. And we had a really good running game there and a really good offensive line. So he comes here. And unfortunately for Spencer Brown, he had back surgery. He did not get to have any offseason, no training camp, no preseason, thrown into week 1. He's an offensive lineman, man. You got to remember, these guys are big dudes. These guys need practice. They need the work. They need to put that in. He didn't have the opportunity. None. It's not as easy as like, oh, well, he can work with him after week 1. And it's not how it works. Like, these guys aren't doing one-on-one drills. Like, it's game time, like game week, right? You only have so many practices. And I just felt like, yeah, he was off a little bit, but that's kind of a little bit of rust, a little bit not working with Cromer. This offseason, I'm telling you, he's coming in the offseason healthy. He gets to work with Cromer, all OTAs, all minicamp, all training camp, and preseason. If he doesn't show this season, then I'll be the first to say he's not the guy. You got to move on or get a draft or right tackle. And I think Bean will understand that as well. But I think you're going to see a much better Spencer Brown this season, in my opinion. I think he's going to start at right tackle. And I think bringing Shell in, he's going to be a quality depth player at that position, because you guys know that offensive linemen go down frequently. And having a veteran in Shell who stepped up last year for Miami and played pretty well is a perfect guy to have in this room, right? So, and going on Dawkins, I know a lot of people are hating on Dawkins in the chat. Listen, the offensive line is a group, man. If one guy doesn't do his job, that shit falls apart, man. It's like a chain, man, right? One link is gone, that's it. And Dawkins has had shit beside him ever since he's been here, pretty much. Richie, his first year, played great. All right, we had Quentin Spain.
Was a monster.
Spain was a monster the 1 year, played great, right?
Oh, so mad.
Saffold, gone, right? So, like, you got to have that connect. You got to have all guys doing their job on the line to make it work. And Dawkins has never had that. Is he perfect? No. But he's damn good. I think you guys are really sleeping on Dawkins. Dawkins is a good player. And he's athletic. He can get out on the blocks. I think Mitch Morse is getting a little older. I think they need to really figure that out this offseason coming up, next offseason, to prepare for that. And that might be Bates. But honestly, I think this right now, guys, is our best offensive line we've had since we drafted Josh Allen, in my opinion. This is it. I'm talking about depth. I'm talking about the starting. This isn't perfect. I'm not saying they're perfect, but this is the best we've had. And by the way, not older guys on their way out. The only older guy is probably Mitch Morse, and I think he has a little bit in his tank to last.
Questenberry's
but he's not a start. But he's not a starter.
Yeah,
I'm talking about starting.
Yeah. So Mitch Morse is the old head in the room now. And he's
exactly
29,
exactly.
Turned 30.
Yeah.
But then we have some young guys. We have like 25, 26-year-old guys.
Yes.
At guard, or a young cat in Osiris Torrance who may take that right guard job. So, because even David Edwards, and we'll go into them next, is pretty young. So, all right. So we'll move on to our guard center. I put it as the incumbent starters and then the additions. So Connor McGovern slides into Saffold's spot at left guard. Last year he had 909 stats. He allowed 2 sacks, only 23 pressures, which was really fantastic, especially because Dak isn't known as a runner or an escape artist. The fact that he only gave 23 pressures, he's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. Honestly, he's a better pass blocker than run blocker. We had really high grade pass blocking grades, and that's what we need here in Buffalo. Then we have Ryan Bates as the other guard currently. He had 1,062. He gave up 32 pressures. He only gave up 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Could be better. He was okay last year. I mean, he was a whole lot better than what we saw on the other side with Saffold. So, it's hard to knock Ryan Bates when you saw how bad it could have been. Mitch Morris, who's our leader on the offensive line, he had 902 snaps, 20 pressures, 4 sacks allowed. Patrick comes in and says, "Ladies and gents," what did it say?
Yeah, he's saying if we had a running game, I still don't think that. I even if we did, we're not winning that game. I'm telling you guys, go watch that game.
The stars after the first 2 drives.
Go watch that game.
We're being honest. It's not even all the offense. Our defense needs to.
It was both. It was both sides. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the playoffs as a whole since Josh has been here. Our defense crumbles in the second half of the games. They played great in the first half. Second half of games, they try to get too perfect. And maybe if we had a running game, we could run the clock out. But man, our defense gets shredded in the second half of every game. Like there's no adjustments. But anyways, Mitch Morris, 902 snaps, 20 pressures, 4 sacks. And then we signed David Edwards from the Rams. Last year, he only played in a couple games, and then he got hurt. He had 230 snaps, gave up 3 sacks, had 10 pressures. But in 2021, he played 1,365 snaps, had 7 sacks, 30 pressures on the season. So when you look at Edwards versus Bates, they're pretty similar players. That's why I thought Bates was pretty average. But then it's our big guy, our newbie, Osiris Torrance, our rookie second-round pick. Last year at Florida, he had 698 snaps. He had 2 penalties, 0 sacks, 0 QB hits, 8 pressures. The dude's a monster. And he's a monster in both the run game and pass blocking. In 2021, before he was in Louisiana Lafayette, he had 807 snaps at 2 penalties, 0 sacks, 1 QB hit, and 4 pressures. So he went from a smaller school to a SEC school and only gave up 8 pressures. Playing against some of the elite defenses.
The best conference. Yeah, the best. The
dude was a monster.
Right.
Like I went back and I was able to, because I have the PFF grades, so I went back and pulled all his college stats, like all 4 years. The dude never gave up a sack, and he only allowed 3 quarterback hits, and 8 pressures in a season is the most he gave up in 4 years.
Right.
The dude's just a monster.
Special.
He is, and I cannot wait to see what he can do with Cromer coaching him. And then we have our backup center, who's Greg Mance. Last year, he played 22 snaps, gave up 1 pressure. He's more of a depth body who never plays. Because let's be perfectly honest, if we need a backup center, it's either going to be McGovern or Bates, because we have so many other guys. Nick Broker, a late round draft pick in 2022, had 1,016 snaps, gave up 3 penalties, 0 sacks, 19 pressures. And then in 2021, the year before, he had 1,017 snaps, 4 sacks, 19 pressures.
Consistent.
Yeah, he's very consistent. He's actually very much in the mold of Connor McGovern, where he's a better pass blocker than run blocker, and he's very solid as a pass blocker. And then we have 2 camp bodies in Jacob Capra and Kevin Jarvis. So I'll start with you, Tommy. What's your thoughts on the guards?
Man. Okay, so Connor McGovern, I love that signing, by the way. He has upside, man. He had some really good seasons at Dallas. He's a little up and down at times, but man, like what I've seen from him, the good is really good. Like I'm excited for him to finally be starting next to with him next to Dawkins. I think Dawkins has found his teammate, that is his buddy, his brother next to him. Yeah, and I think this guy is going to be the truth. I like what I saw on film from him. Mitch Morris, he's not what he was. He's a pin and pull center. I like him. But once again, the concussion thing worries me every year, because it's like once he goes out, we're playing this musical chairs again with who's going to fill in that center. I get we have Bates there, and it might work out because unlike Mikey, I think Torrance is going to take that spot, and Bates could be that center if Morse goes down at any point of the season, which is very possible the way Morse has been since he's been in Buffalo. And Edwards is a sneaky pickup. I like Edwards as well. When he was with the Rams, he's shown really good potential as well. But, man, going on Torrance, man, I'm telling you guys, played the SEC, tough conference, played against guys that are NFL ready players, right? It wasn't like a small-time school. He's going against, double-A guy. He played against the best, okay? And he showed out, no sacks. The dude puts his hand on you, that is a wrap. I think he's going to show out in camp. I think you're going to hear a lot of things out of camp, how strong this dude is. And I think they're going to have no choice but to start him. If you don't, because he's just a rookie, that's ridiculous. And I don't believe that narrative because McDermott has started rookies. It's not like it's uncommon for him. He started.
We started last year in the secondary.
He started Benford over Elam, who's a first and started a 6th round over a 1st round. So he's definitely. I think that narrative is a little wrong. I think he's going to go with who he thinks is the best. That's going to give us the best chance to win. Who could protect Josh, who can run block. By the way, run blocking this year with these guys, these additions with McGovern, who's more of a run blocker, with Torrance, who's a little bit more of a run blocker as well. I expect the run game to get going big time, and I expect Josh to have more time back there in the pocket. It's going to be exciting, man. I'm telling you, man. But yeah, I'm excited for this offensive line. I am. I do think Torrance is going to wind up winning that job. And Bates is, listen, no hate on Bates. I love that Bates is waiting in the wing for potentially taking over Morse's spot next year, or just having that depth kind of guy that can fill in for anybody. So yeah, man, I like what I see from this offensive line. It's not perfect, and but I think it's something that's, it's good to see that Bean is finally addressing it. And we'll see where it goes. The only really honestly spot that I don't like, that is a question mark, is Spencer Brown. I'll be real. But I think Spencer Brown is going to show and prove this year that he can be that guy. But if he's not, then that is the one spot. And then obviously Morse you got to fill after next season. I think he's done after this season. But okay, I'm liking it.
Someone I forgot to add on here, and I took him off when I changed it, and I forgot to put him back on, was Ike Bucker. Ike Bucker is still part of our Bucker is still part of our offensive line room. Yeah. I can't believe I forgot to put him back on when I took him out. So he'll also have a shot. I think
he's on the bubble, man.
Honestly, I can see us keeping 10 offensive linemen, and I can see us keeping McGovern, Bates, Morris, Edwards, Torrance, Bacher, and then 4 of the offensive tackles. I really can.
Yeah.
I don't want us to. I want us to keep 9 and trade one of these interior guys for something. Yeah. But I can really see us doing that.
Maybe. I mean, with the luck we've had at offensive line with the injuries and stuff.
These guys are younger. They're
to have the depth.
Leg. None of these guys are on their last leg. And,
I may.
And we finally have real depth. Guys who are starting. Like, if David Edwards doesn't win the starting job, we have a Super Bowl starting offensive lineman sitting on our bench ready to come in.
That's what I'm saying. Awesome. Yeah. Younger, too. A younger player. It's not like an old dude. You know what I mean?
No, he's 25, 26.
Right. Yep.
Sean, what's your thoughts on our guard situation?
Well, I mean, what more can you say about Osiris? He's one of my favorite players that we talked about in the draft process. And I know, there's the talk of being McDermott doesn't like to play rookies. I've said that a few times because it's like 50-50. He plays some, doesn't place others. Torrance is a guy who, what you get with Bates. Bates' ceiling is being an average player. Osiris's ceiling is being an elite top 5 guard in the NFL. Yep. And I'm a huge guy on you cannot be better unless you play. So playing in practice, when I played in practice, it's like you work hard, but it's different compared to being in a game and going to war and really going at it with an enemy. So if Torrance isn't ready, I'm gonna put Bates there because he's been there, he earned it. He got his contract. We got to put Bates starting for a few weeks. That's what kills people's development. Epineso's first year, they didn't play him that much because they made him lose the weight. First of all, we won't get into that, but he didn't get a great opportunity in this first year because they're like, oh well, he's got a little bit to learn first. And I get that to a point, but at the same time, a guy like Torrance, he needs to be starting. He absolutely needs to be starting because, again, if he struggles the first couple games, he needs that because he's got to get ready to be in the NFL. He's phenomenal in college. 8 pressures in SEC, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So,
and he's flat-footed, by the way.
Right. He needs to
Which
be
is
starting.
Crazy. Yeah.
He's got to get reps, and only so much you can do in practice. But then with McGovern, I like the McGovern signing a lot. And I told Tommy this, but I have a lot of friends that are Cowboys fans, and I always take their word because, friends for a long time and I trust them and they know football.
Mm-hmm.
They always say if Dallas lets somebody go, they were the weak link. And McGovern was their weak link, but he's a strong link in our offensive line. So I see what they're saying. Like in Dallas, he wasn't for them, but for us, I can see him being a really great asset to our team. So I'm pretty excited about him. Again, got to see how he fits in with us because continuity is a big thing on the offensive line. And now we're switching again, and then next year we're going to switch again, getting Morse out, and we'll see about how Brown turns out. So let's just say Brown turns out bad, and Morse retires, or we got to get rid of Morse. Then you got to get another center and another right guard. Yeah, Bates could play center, but he wasn't playing center last year. Morse was. So the continuity, that kind of a little bit scares me. But I think McGovern and Dawkins will be, great together. Love Torrance. I hope Spencer Brown doesn't, take Osiris back a little step because he's so bad. I hope it doesn't screw up Osiris's progression. But I mean, Morris is he could be a concussion away from being out the rest of the year and being done with football. And then Bates has to step up and play center. Again, David Edwards, we kind of destroyed him pretty bad last year when we played him. But again, if you got a Super Bowl starting offensive lineman on your bench, that's pretty damn good. And then
but that Rams offensive line was pretty bad last year.
Yeah, that was bad. It was
bad. They lost a lot of guys on that offensive line, and that's why he got destroyed. He was like a one-man show. It was like Dawkins trying to do it by himself. Can't do that. Also, I want to push back a little bit on the McGovern thing with Dallas. McGovern wasn't their weak link. Their left tackle was, because when they lost their left tackle and they kept playing rotation with their left tackle.
That's true.
If you go back and listen to what Jerry Jones and McCarthy said, they wanted McGovern back. The problem is they had all of their guards coming back, so he would have been in a reserve role. They couldn't pay him what he wanted, as to be on the bench, because they didn't have a spot for him on the interior, and that was the reason why McGovern left. It wasn't a skill piece of it, but Cowboys also like to run the ball more than the Bills do, and he's a better pass blocker than run blocker. There's also another piece. I think he'll fit better with the Bills than he did with the Cowboys.
Right. By the way, Trick's coming in with this, and that's true. Saw that game. Torrance shut Jalen Carter down, and Jalen Carter's no slouch. That dude is the beast.
Jalen Carter had the one of the 8 pressures he had. That was it. The whole game.
And by the way, real quick too, Nickel City Mafia. That's Sean's buddies, and I checked them out. Good channel, man. Go over there and subscribe. Show them some love, man.
You're right. Torrance next to Brown might actually help Brown, because I think part of the issue is Brown gets beat on the speed rush around the outside, and knowing that you have an elite guard next to you, he can actually help you if they try to go power inside. So where you can start getting that kick step out farther to help offset that speed rush. If you have a beast at right guard assisting you. So maybe he helps. Maybe he doesn't take Torrance back. Maybe Torrance elevates Brown.
That's my hope. I mean, it could go either way, unfortunately, but I got a feeling like week 1, we played the Jets, Quentin Williams, Osiris Torrance. I love that matchup. I really love that. And my fear is Spencer Brown's going to get absolutely freaking obliterated, and Torrance is going to try to beat Quentin Williams and help Brown out. He's going to look terrible, and everybody's going to be like, "Oh, what a freaking waste! He sucked. Get him, put Bates back in."
My biggest fear is they don't start Brown or Torrance week 1 because he's going up against that Jets, top 5 defense.
Yeah,
and they don't want to set him up for failure. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah,
nah.
I mentioned
I
don't
think so.
I did. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I get what you're saying, Mikey, but I think by the time preseason ends, then they'll know where Torrance stands against against defenses, like how he. Not only that, they'll know where he stands against our defense, Mikey, in training camp when he's going. It's not like we're slouches on Right. We got some.
And we'll get into that in our next
Right.
episode when we do the
Right.
defensive line.
So
warfare.
yeah, it ain't like
we got Saquon and Puna and
we got some
Jordan
dudes,
and
right? So
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, you're gonna hear from those dudes who are veterans, right? All about O'Cyrus Torrence. You're gonna hear it from reporters how he handled himself against those dudes. Because if you're handling yourself against those dudes, he'll be all right for week 1. Trust me. And I think the coaching staff will see that. So I don't see that it'll be too big for him. By the way, too, he's earned everything he's gotten.
Oh,
He went over to Florida. He earned that. It wasn't
13.
exactly. Was not given. And by the way, go check that dude's awards, man. O'Cyrus Torrence has a shelf full of them. He is who he is, man, and we got lucky getting him. Hey, Nickel City, man, I appreciate the $10 super chat. Keep up the great work, Sean. Sean, love your honesty and passion for the Bills. Great show, guys. Yeah, Sean's a good dude, man. I appreciate it. And Sean, by the way, real quick, how did you find us? I'm curious. What video? Was it our live? Was it a video? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it was one of your. It was a live that already happened, and I got a cleaning company, so like if I'm not playing music, I try to listen to other Bills shows, and then I just typed in Bills, and then it came up, and I was like,
algorithm, baby.
I was like, why haven't I heard about them before? And because
we are
I don't know,
newer.
but then it popped up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna spend the rest of my work time listening to them.
Nice, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
we made YouTube algorithm.
Yeah, you did. It's been great. And,
because we're what 2 years into this
2
channel,
years.
Tommy?
I've been doing this since 20. I started in 2020. Mikey joined. I started late
2021.
I started late 2020 myself, and then Mikey got with me in 2021, and we went officially in 2022. Right, was our first. Last season was our first
hashtag. Sports in 2021, and then we came over to your channel exclusively in 2022.
Yeah, but we've been, sorry that we're jumping off topic, but let me tell you, anyone that's in the chat now, man. One, I can't do this without y'all, man. So I appreciate you. I love all y'all. And two, I couldn't do this without Mikey, man. Mikey, I love you, brother. But we have grown within the last year and a half like crazy, man. Numbers are way up. And once again, man, I appreciate y'all for watching. I appreciate you, Mikey. And that's it. So let's go. That's my appreciation.
Well, we finished our guards and our offensive line, so that's it for tonight's main topic. Sitting there. So, Sean, what do you have on tap over at Red, White, and Bills?
So in the off season is kind of slow for me on my own. Like I said, I do a lot of collabs with Nickel City and Go Bills podcast. We did the 53-man roster the other day. We actually have an AFC East Summit channel, so it's like the round table with the Jets, Dolphins, and Patriots representative. We just started that. I think we're 3 or 4 weeks in, so that's going to be fun. When the season starts, I do the pre-games, I do post-games. Often, sometimes it's with the group of guys I just mentioned, and sometimes it's just me. Breaking news once in a while, and then like I said, this past summer, I have a cleaning company, and I haven't had a day off since March, so which is great. I'm not complaining at all, but it's been super busy. So like I get home at like 7 o'clock, and then I feel bad that I wasn't with my son all day. So he goes to bed at like 8:30, so it's like then I spend my time with him, and then I study Portuguese because my wife's from Brazil, and then I read books every night. So it's like I was like in the off season, it's gonna be kind of slow for me. But once in a while, I'll jump on a show, and that's what I love. But once the season starts, like I said, at least 3 or 4 videos a week, and I this is what I love, talking Buffalo Bills, and hopefully this year by the end of it, we're all meeting each other in Buffalo for a parade. And
absolutely, I've already told Tommy if the Bills win the Super Bowl, I'm flying in from Cali to do the parade. I'm coming.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be like a month long.
Yeah, and so next week, Bills veterans report to training camp. and
That's
training
right.
camp kicks off. So Monday we'll do the final position breakdowns. We'll do the D-line, linebackers. So we'll basically do the defense. And then for Friday, we'll have our first camp updates. So
Nice.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right, man. So, Mikey, other than that, anything else, man?
Not much. Howie and I are going to get. Yeah, Howie and
Nickel
I are
City wants to know where you're from, by the way.
Where am I from? Northern California. I'm just outside of Sacramento in Citrus Heights. Yep.
All right. So, what were you saying about Howie?
Howie and I are going to get together and drop our first set fantasy.
Nice.
Our fantasy show. We do a fantasy football show on here. I'm Sean. So if you ever want to pop in on a fantasy show and
Sure.
drop your knowledge, you just hit us up. We're going to drop our Tuesday ones, which is going to be the waiver wire, and then we do a live show on Saturdays for setting your lineup and answering questions. We started it last year. Tommy, myself, and Howie do the live shows, but on Tuesdays it's Howie and I. So we'll be getting ready to get together and start doing some of these videos. They won't be lives right away for position breakdowns, but we'll be doing different ones. So we'll be doing redraft, keepers, and dynasty position groups. So that's on its way, Tommy.
Yeah, man. Other than that, man, guys, anyone that's new to the chat, obviously like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've been hustling this off season, man, posting videos. So I'm trying to get like a video out probably every day. I'm trying. It's not easy, but check my, obviously hit the notification bell so when a new video drops, you can watch it. We'll be back Monday at 9. And yeah, man, once the season hits, man, me and Mikey will be taking off because we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a Monday show, a Friday show, a Saturday show. Then we do post game after every single Buffalo Bills game. So we are like busy. So you are going to expect a lot more live shows from us. Also, real quick, guys, Ace Per Head, if you don't know it, he's a Dolphins creator, really good friend of mine, Curtis. We've been doing the replays from last year, the AFC East. We just uploaded it on his channel, which was the Dolphins Bills game of week 3. And we'll be shooting the next video where we're going to be doing the Dolphins at Bills. So look for that on my channel. So yeah, man, a lot of stuff going on, man. And once again, I appreciate all y'all. Love you guys, man. Bills Mafia, love you. And as always, go Bills. We're out of here.
Bills.
Peace.